Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be a little bit different to the last video. It's going to be a bit more like the first video. It's going to be a little bit of a chatty one. But basically, since I started YouTube, even when I very first started YouTube with my old channel, I've always wanted to kind of do this video. And I've always put it off. And then I was like, this channel is about this kind of content. This is the kind of content I want to be making. This is the kind of conversations I want to be having online. And this is the kind of thing that I feel very strongly about and care about. And I want to talk about this stuff. But I keep putting it off. And I mean, I was supposed to film this video 2 weeks ago and I haven't. And again, and each day I'd be like, I'm going to film it today. I'm going to film it today. I'm going to film it today. And now we're here today and I'm finally filming it. This video is very daunting for me. Like, having this conversation like scares me. And I feel very like vulnerable doing this. But I think it is so important that we have these conversations and that people are opening up about their mental health struggles and opening up about things that they're feeling and thoughts that are in their head, or when they feel like they need some help or some support or absolutely anything. Like, I think it's so important that we like start to have these conversations and create spaces where these conversations can be had. So today I'm going to be talking a little bit about my mental health struggles, kind of pinpointing highlighted moments in my journey with mental health up until like right now. Basically, I just want to do that because I want to bring more awareness to the fact that like it's okay to not be okay. Like, it's okay to be struggling, but it's also okay to be having these conversations, like, and it's so important to be having these conversations. So basically, the first time that I really saw that I was struggling with my mental health, or really noticed like looking back, was when I first moved to university. And obviously when you move to university, it's quite a big moment in anybody's life. Like, you tend to move away from home, you move away from your family and your friends, you make a whole new bunch of friends. And I did have the support from my family and my friends and all of that, and that was absolutely incredible. But I don't think that stops you being alone with your own thoughts and being vulnerable. And that's not me trying to talk anyone out of going to university. It was the most amazing experience of my life, and I will like forever want to be back at university. Like, if I could live it again, I 100% would. But I think there was a point in when I moved that I really realized how much anxiety I carried as a person, and how I would really overthink every situation possible, and I would always think of the worst outcome that could possibly be. So for instance, like, we would go on nights out, and before we'd go on nights out, I would like go into my room, get ready, and I would probably sit there ready before going to like pre-drinks or meeting up with friends or all that kind of stuff, half an hour or an hour before, overthinking absolutely everything that could go wrong or that could happen or that I wasn't expecting. And I think I was doing that to try and make myself aware of all the things that could happen so that I wouldn't fear them anymore. But in a sense, that would just make me fear them even more, because I would think, right, well, that could happen now. And I think that stems from me being scared of the unknown and being fearful of what could happen that I'm not sure is going to happen, or I haven't planned, or that's not the way I think it's going to happen. And I think that's why I allow myself to overthink these situations, because I think my mind thinks that it's going to help me, but actually it kind of just makes the situation a whole lot worse. So then I'll go on nights out and I'll be there like seeming like your most happy guy going, like having a great time, having a laugh, drinking with my friends, like, do you know what I mean? But on the inside, my mind is like going at 100 miles an hour, like overthinking absolutely every situation, like worrying about like, oh my God, I need to go to the toilet now, but I don't want to walk to the toilet on my own because all of this things can happen. But then I don't want to ask my friend to go because then I'm pulling away from them from this situation, and they could react to me like this if they do that. And then it just ends up to this whole spiral until I literally have to like convince myself that it is okay to ask someone to go to the toilet with me. And that's not me even accepting the fact that I can go to the toilet on my own. That's me accepting the fact that I can ask someone to support me. And I think that's okay too. Like, working your way through to ask for that helping hand, I think is completely okay. But obviously the full length of the journey would be to be able to do it on my own. But unfortunately, that just never, probably at the moment anyway, would be the case. That's just not where I'm at in my own journey. And then along with that, when I would be in classes at university, I would probably seem like the quiet kid, like the person that doesn't really isn't really outspoken, doesn't really say much, will happily perform. Like, I will go up and perform. Like, I'll be probably nervous before, because naturally, as you would. But on that stage, I feel no nerves. Like, I really don't. Like, I genuinely just feel like so open and so happy and so like in my own little world. Like, I don't even know what's going to go on afterwards. Obviously, I then fear all of the judgment, all of the stuff that I could have done different, all of that kind of stuff. But again, I think that's quite natural of being a performer, being an actor. You're going to overthink, especially when you've got a mind that genuinely just overthinks everything. But being in a class setup and situation, I would never give my own opinion, really. Probably until about middle of second year, third year, I got a little bit more vocal, but probably still not as vocal as I would want to be if I redid it again. And that's because I would be so worried about what I would say, or if I would say it wrong, or if my opinion would get miscommunicated, and then people would think I meant something completely different to what I meant. And I think basically I had this fear of the prejudgment of other people and what they would think of me. Rather than believing in myself, I would overthink the negatives of what people will do. And obviously with mental health, very much so, a lot of the time it is thinking the negatives of the situation. So that's the same with what I just explained, the negative of all the stuff that could go wrong was what I was thinking about. It wasn't all the stuff that could go right, it was all the stuff that could go wrong. And then in this situation, it was all the stuff that people could hate on me for, not praise me for. And then when I would vocalize, no one would even blink an eye. I wouldn't necessarily get praise, I wouldn't necessarily get negative though, but no one would blink an eye, and that is just how it is. But for me, I would just overthink that situation massively. And then we got to about third year at university, and I really realized what was going on and was able to understand a bit more what was going on. And I then decided to obviously spend my third year exploring mental health, looking at mental health and panic attacks and all that kind of stuff, because I'm going to do a separate video on panic attacks altogether, just because I really want to talk about them. I know quite a few people that struggle with them, and over the years of struggling with them, so many people have given me so much advice, and I really just want to share that with people and just create a video all about that. But I will just mention it briefly because it is obviously part of the mental health journey. My panic attacks kind of started in first year of university, and I can kind of remember a pinpoint night that it happened, which was half of my halls were having a party and half of us weren't. But I believe that the other half that us weren't were because they were doing something else, but I decided to stay in. And I don't know what necessarily caused it. I think maybe it was the dynamic of having to, so many people, the loud noise, do you know what I mean? It being an overwhelming atmosphere of people around my flat, but me not knowing what was going on outside of the room. But I ended up having a panic attack. And at the time, I didn't necessarily realize that's what was happening. But looking back, I obviously know now that that's 100% what it was. And I still still to this day struggle with panic attacks. And I'll kind of follow that on as I get to more present day, but they have become more irregular than they were at the beginning. They were a lot more common, probably every week to every 2 weeks, I would have a panic attack or two. It kind of got to a point where it was a lot. But yeah, so then in third year, I obviously, as I said, I realized what was going on. I did a lot of of my work based around it to bring more awareness, and realized that that's something I really cared about, is that bringing this awareness. But in doing that, I still wasn't very open about my own mental health. So then I decided that I was going to go and I was going to ask the uni for help, like with counselling. Unfortunately, due to the amount of mental health support that was needed off of other people at the university, I wasn't able to get counselling through the university. And I don't know why, but thinking back, I think I took that as oh, maybe you don't need it, which it wasn't. It was just, unfortunately, we can't help you right now because we've got so many people. And they did give me other people to contact and all that kind of stuff, but I kind of took that as, oh, maybe you don't need it. So I didn't get help. But then I kind of found ways through having a few more conversations with friends and all that kind of stuff about it, that I was getting support off of them and was able to support myself a bit better. So now moving a bit more to present day, I would probably say I haven't had a panic attack in the last 2-3 months. And there was a weird point that I did have kind of recently, so in the last couple of months. But basically, once finishing university, I obviously had to transition from being a student and kind of working a very part-time job to then working full-time, especially during the pandemic. All the plans that I kind of wished for to happen after university couldn't happen. So I had to go into kind of a full-time work that was very different to anything I've ever done before. And I just really struggled with that. And I ended up having quite a few panic attacks. I would go to sleep and wake up, having had a nightmare, which is something I also kind of struggle with. I do tend to get very realistic dreams, but I don't actually know if that's mental health related or not. So if anybody does know that, that'd be really interesting to know. I'd love to hear if anyone knows anything about dreams and all that kind of stuff. I'm really interested. Maybe I should look into that a bit more. But yeah, anyway, it got to a point where I was having panic attacks because I was so worried about going to work or going for an interview or all that kind of stuff. And I did then send a request to get counselling through my GP, and I still haven't heard back about that. But obviously, we're in the middle of a pandemic. I do not necessarily expect to hear back right now, and I know that that it's in quite high demand at the moment because obviously there's a lot of people struggling. So I completely understand that I haven't heard yet. And if I still haven't when we come out of this pandemic, then I think I'll definitely be pushing on to try and get that support. Because I just think it'll be great to, do you know what I mean, get that support and get some help, because it's probably about time. I probably should have done it a while ago. But in that sense, yes. And then anxiety wise, I think it's something that I'm starting to learn to live with, which I don't know if that's a negative or a positive. But I still, every day I go into work now, I still, sometimes I'll have anxiety that I can fully compress, and I'm chilled and I can deal with it. I know it's there and it's always there, but I can deal with it. And then some days I'll go into work and I'll barely want to talk to any other staff member that's in there. I'll talk to the ones I have to, but other than that, I will not openly create a conversation with another one. And that's not because I don't want to, because I do, inside I really want to, but my anxiety just does not want to deal with that today, and it does not want to do that. And I don't. So I definitely still have some progression to make on my mental health journey, and I definitely wouldn't say I'm at any place where I've got a good mental health state completely. I would say I'm a lot better and I'm in a really good place right now, but there are definitely still struggles that I'm going through. And through sharing where I've been and where I'm kind of at, I basically just wanted to create a space and have a conversation about my mental health problems, to kind of let people know that it's okay to have these conversations. It's okay to talk about it. And yeah, it's scary. It can be a lot. It can be daunting. You don't want to open up to the people you love and care about, and that you want them to have the best version of you. You don't want to open up these conversations. You don't want to tell them about the negative stuff that's going on in your life, or you don't want them to do you know what I mean? Think, in a sense, like think differently of you because you struggle in a social setting, or because, do you know what I mean, you're worrying about something, or like you're overthinking all the time, or do you know what I mean? Like, I completely get it, but it is so important that we have these conversations. Like, having these conversations, like, bottom line, can like save lives and can really help people like get the support that they need. And that support is there. Like, it's obviously like, a mental health support is in a weird place, especially right now. And it definitely needs a lot of improvement. Like, it definitely needs working on. But I mean, literally just the other day, like, Dr. Alex, I think from Love Island or something, got appointed like the mental health ambassador by the Prime Minister. And that's like such, like, that's a really nice development, like a really big thing. And like, obviously there's so much more that can be done, and there's so much more that needs to be done. But it's a step, and it's these stepping stones. And that's the same with your mental health. It's a stepping stone. Like, just maybe when you're feeling low next, like, have that conversation with one person, and then maybe the next time have that conversation with another person, and just create those conversations. But yeah, so I just wanted to basically have that conversation, and leave that very open to you guys. Like, you are more than welcome to jump into my DMs and let's chat about this. Let's have conversations. Like, if you're struggling with your mental health and you feel like you want to talk to me, or you feel like you can talk to me now that you've seen this video, like, please, like, drop me a message. If you want to start chatting about it in the comments, like, even better. I would love to start a little conversation in the comments about mental health, and like, let's just get talking. Like, it's so important. I literally cannot stress enough how much, like, how important it is to have those conversations. Like, opening up to one person or two people, or a family member, or your girlfriend, or your friend, or like, it's a step. And like, knowing that someone else understands what you're going through gives you a person that you can open up that conversation with. And if you ever do get to a really low point, or you know what, even when you get to a high point, like, there's someone that like you can celebrate that with, because there's someone that's like helped you on that journey. And with that being said, I am going to leave all links down below to loads of different mental health support helplines, loads of different websites and guidance and all that kind of stuff, different ways you can get mental health support. I follow a few Instagram accounts that I find really helps me, like with like different thoughts, all that kind of stuff. I also follow a few Instagram accounts that I like to promote their stuff, because basically they're very open about mental health and they kind of spread awareness through their posts. So I will drop them all down below. But I really just hope that this doesn't sound like me trying to be like, oh, look at him, he has mental health problems. Like, not at all. I really just wanted to come on here, talk about my mental health problems, and just show that it's okay to feel like, be a bit vulnerable and open up and have these conversations, because it's so important and they need to be had more. And at the end of the day, it's okay to not be okay, especially in these weird times. Like, we're in a weird freaking time. Like, it's okay to want to spend a day in bed and just have a break. Like, that is okay. Like, it's just so okay. I'm rambling now, so I'm going to go. I hope you all have an amazing day, and I wish you all the best. And make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and hit the bell to get notifications when I post, and I will see you again with another video. Goodbye, guys.